welcome back to Twin Chat. I'm Kenan Macomber, mom of two and teacher living in Bend, Oregon.
And hi, I'm Steph Kafori, mom of three, a life coach living in Hawaii. And we are so beyond excited because we have Miles Macomber, Kenan's son, joining us today. Hi, Miles.
Hi.
Miles is in the eighth grade. He's 14 years old, and we're going to hear from him today about his journey during this time with COVID. And we're continuing our series on adolescents and young adults and talking about what it's been like this past year. And as I mentioned in the last three episodes with Faith, Hayden, and Charlotte, this is our time to really get to know what it's been like and what school's been like, whether it's been in person or remote learning, and staying connected or disconnected with your friends. And so we're going to be learning and chatting with Miles today about his perspective and what it feels like and it looks like living this, and I put this in quotes, this new pandemic life. So thank you, Miles. And Kenan, I'll let you ask your son the first question.
Yes. Oh, Miles, it's so fun to have you. We're in separate rooms here in the same house, but so cool because Zoom is so awesome, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, of course, we do have so much to chat about today. And we wanted to start first with what this past year has been like for you in terms of school and your friendships and telling our audience about your experience.
It's been different, but I've still been able to maintain relationships with friends that I've had. So I've still been like hanging out with them, keeping in touch, doing stuff, but differently, not the same.
So
Tell us,
Miles, go ahead, Kenan.
no, I was just going to say, I get to experience this with you, but tell our audience what that's been like as far as when you say different. What does that mean?
Uh, I mean, I don't know how to explain it because there's not really an exact way to explain it, but it just doesn't seem as normal as it would without a pandemic. Like we're doing stuff in masks uh and then when we're like outside of school, we're just hanging out. And then I don't know, we don't do like the stuff we normally do, like go and just we're mostly hanging out like at people's houses or playing basketball together instead of like going out to places as we did normally with like non-COVID.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And Miles, you have a group of friends, right? So it sounds like you have a couple of guys that you hang out with. So you have a pod. Is that have people sort of done that, like kind of grouped off into little groups of people?
Yeah, I've noticed that like the kids who had like close friends are more together with them, and then
Mm-hmm.
the kids who are kind of knew everyone, they're the ones who kind of struggled, I guess. And I had like a good group of friends, and it's kind of like a close circle. And with as normal school, it would be like a big circle. So yeah.
There's
Miles, you bring up such a good point where when you have a lot of friends, we almost kind of think of that as like they're out on the periphery, right? But when you can focus on a few friends, and in your case, you have such great friends, and it's really awesome to see how much closer you have become. You spend a lot of time together, but there's a comfort in that because you're not we can think of it as sort of like a web, right? You're not spreading your web so thin, but yet you're tightening it up to those few individuals where you can put your time, effort, and energy and deepen those friendships that you have. And that's, I would, from your mom's perspective, from a mom perspective, say that that's been really positive and special.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what's it been like for you, Miles? Like can you sort of give us a day in a life of a in the shoes of a 14-year-old boy? What's a day like for you?
I mean, personally for me, I mean, everyone's different. Everyone does their things that they like to do, but if it's school day, I play basketball in the morning, go to school, come back home, hang out with the family, and yeah, I mean, there's not much going on. Like,
But you,
yeah.
you get up early. I'm assuming. Do you get up early to play basketball? Like, do you
Well,
go?
school starts at 10:30 for us because of the bus schedules and like that stuff. So, yeah, I mean, not that early.
But you go to the gym or you go
Yeah,
outside? What do you do?
gym.
Go to the gym. And do you play by yourself or do you play with friends?
I have friends who come there with me.
Okay. Okay. What a way to start your day. Like
Yeah,
play some hoops and hang out with your buddies and then you come
yeah.
home and get ready for school.
Well,
Oh
I
no,
think
I just bring my stuff, all my well, I leave my basketball stuff there and then bring my school stuff and then play basketball, maybe shower if I'm really sweaty, and then go to school. So I don't even have to go home.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Miles, dive a little deeper into what the day is like at school.
Um. Well, it's hard to like. So we have 75-minute classes, so they're long, but we get a lot out of every class. So that's good. And then it's a lot differently socially because like seventh grade, like the half of it that there was no COVID, uh, it was like everyone was kind of like everyone knew each other, everyone was like friendly. And now it's like everyone's just kind of stuck in their own friend groups. And with like phones, you can kind of be with your friend group online and kind of like distance yourself from everyone else around you who like before was like you would just talk to them because that's you knew them and it was normal. So yeah.
So are people on their phones more, do you think?
um I think a year it was a year without seeing anyone. Kids got used to like being on their phones, especially like teenagers being on their phones more, like FaceTiming their friends, on social media, that kind of stuff.
Hmm.
And for me, I wasn't doing like much of that. I was going off and being outside with my friends. But I think maybe if people's parents didn't want them, like because of COVID, didn't want them seeing other people, they were sticking to screens. So they kind of brought that normality like back to school, kind of. So yeah.
Hmm. That's interesting. So like texting like in the like between classes, like is that or people do it, what does that look like?
Yeah, and even like in class, like before class, like yeah, because you can kind of like it's kind of a way to like zone out almost and like not be around people who you're around, I guess.
It sounds a little bit to me like almost avoiding social situations. Like
Yeah.
this has become a crutch where people, instead of being face to face in a conversation, you are now, kids are heads down on a screen, and it becomes an excuse not to interact with the real world. Would you agree with that?
Yeah. It's definitely a way to like just kind of put yourself in a little bubble and just kind of separate from other people around you.
Mm-hmm.
So you can be doing whatever you want and other people can be doing whatever what they want instead of just conversing and like socializing.
Miles, do you see this as being kind of a new norm, or do you see this as sort of people were like you, in your words, you said people have been doing a lot of social media, so that's sort of what they're used to. So they're bringing that into the classroom now. Do you see that continuing, or do you see that changing as we're back, as things, as we have more social interaction?
I mean, I've definitely seen change like from the first 2 weeks of school. It's a lot different between now. Like we started in what like early March and now it's May. So 2 months later, kids have started to like feel normal, like it's a bit more normal because you've like like readjusted to what school was like. So I think I mean, it'll just take time. I mean, you never know what could happen. So I could
True.
definitely see both ways happening. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
I'll never forget you coming home from school and saying it's so weird because people aren't talking.
Yeah. Like,
And mhm.
so the probably first half of school, it was hybrid. So half the grade would go one day, and then the other half would go the other day. And like, there's people without any friends because like some of their friends were in the other like cohort, which is what they called it. So like, and then on the first day back with everyone in, like my advisory classroom was just like extremely loud, and it was the first time I ever heard the teacher say, "Guys, be quiet. We need to do some stuff." So yeah,
Wow. Yeah, because you didn't, it was all based on the letter of your last name for the cohort you were in. And so to your point, maybe you were in a class and you didn't necessarily know any of the kids or they weren't your friends. And so the social interactions would be really different. Did you find, Miles, kind of talking about those social friends or the social interactions that you had, did your friend group stay the same from the beginning of the pandemic a year ago up to this point?
I mean, we all changed. Like, that's what, like, everyone. I mean, everyone changed. You're not always going to be the same. So with like new experiences and new stuff, everyone kind of changed a little bit. But people definitely have the similar personalities as they did a year ago. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, and tell us what's been like what's been a positive thing that you've experienced, Miles, that this past year?
Um, I've gotten to know like my friends a lot better. I've gotten better at like sports. My grades actually improved because I was able to like be like distraction free when I was at home, and now they're still pretty good, but and then not much else. Like,
Mhm.
just a lot more family time, so our family connected more. And like before the pandemic, we were all doing separate things. I mean, we still of course like did stuff together, but it was like Bailey had basketball practice and I had this and dad had this, and so now we're all together more and it's nice.
Oh, that's great. Well, and what it's you live in Bend, right? And I know this about you, but our audience may not, that the outdoor life is a huge thing. And that's one of the reasons why you guys moved to Bend was for
Yeah.
that outdoor living. Tell us a little bit about how that's been played a big part in your life. This is, I mean, it always has, but especially this past year.
Well, at the beginning of the pandemic, I did a lot of mountain biking. So me and my next door neighbor, we would do that a lot. And because there wasn't much else to do, like there wasn't sports going on, so we just go up to the trails and bike around and do some jumps and stuff. And as stuff started to reopen, I started playing basketball a lot more. And yeah,
Well, you also had a pretty epic ski season. How many
yeah,
days did
I
you end up
skied
getting in?
like 40 days. So yeah.
That's pretty amazing.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say definitely, some major silver linings for kids. And if we looked at your specific life, it would be we have such easy access to the outdoors here in Bend, but not everybody here, of course, is active or athletic. But you really took that and said, "Oh, I'm going to try some new things." We'd
Hmm.
always skied, but never to the extent that you had. And I saw a huge shift in your skiing, a metamorphosis from your beginning of the season to the end. It was like, boom, you were
Kenan,
doing.
Kenan, he can probably run laps around us.
Oh yeah, don't go up to the mountain with him anytime soon, Steph. He's way better than we are. But it is, Miles, I was also thinking about some of the motivation that has come out of this. You don't currently have a job besides mowing the lawn and certain things around, our house, of course, but this has also been a time where you felt motivated to go out and get a job.
Yeah, reffing I heard about from a friend, and our whole like 4 out of my 5 friends are doing it. So we carpool there, and yeah. And also I've been looking for jobs this summer because the demand is super high, and I work flexible hours probably, and yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, the lacrosse reffing has been really great, and especially because you get to ref a couple games, so it's worth the drive out there.
Yeah.
And then, I'm really proud of you for getting motivated to look for that summer job too. And I'm not sure if pre-pandemic you would have been, I mean, who knows if you would
Hmm.
be in this same boat.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and Miles, what, like, if you could name, this is kind of a big question, but if you could name like a feeling or a pervasive emotion or mood that this past year, that you felt this past year, what would you say that is?
There's been lots of them. I mean, I've definitely had times where like stuff closed down, and I'm just sitting at home being like, what can I do? Like, I'm bored. So, but then there's also been plenty of times that like super happy, super fun. So it's a lot of mixed, and I think that's for everyone. Like, there's been lots of mixed emotions. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's you know what I what I talk about in my coaching, Miles, is embracing all of those feelings, right? Is that you could feel happy in one moment, and then a situation comes up like, oh, a friend can't do something and you're bummed and you're disappointed, and or your brother does something and you're mad at him, and a lot of a lot of emotions have been heightened during this time because we feel them even more. And we're noticing a lot of the other people we've talked to, the adolescents that we've talked to, are saying that as well, that I'm feeling things I've never noticed before, that I'm because I have time to feel it. There's not the distractions. And that's a really big awareness at a young age to have of how you're feeling. And I'm wondering if you've noticed that you're feeling things, it's been you've been more aware of it because there has been more time.
I've definitely been aware of it, like, and expressing it and like feeling it, and there's been lots of time to pass. So, like, stuff in the day to do, like figuring out what to do, figuring out what, like, how, yeah.
Yeah, you're having to kind of be resourceful,
Mhm.
right? Like,
Yeah,
okay,
definitely.
what what do we do with, in a social distancing way that's fun, that gets us engaged with our friends, and that's not the normal stuff that we had done in the past, because it's not available to us now because it's either shut down or social distancing and stuff like that. um, so I hear that. I hear that it's definitely been a different time. And what do you think has been the most challenging?
Uh, Probably, I don't know exactly. I can't pinpoint one exact thing that's been the most challenging part, but I don't know. There hasn't been much negative things from my, like, that I've experienced during this, but I guess not seeing people for a while, and then just kind of like dealing with like, I don't know exactly. Like,
Mhm.
it's hard. Yeah.
Well, I don't want to put words in your mouth, Miles, but I'm just reflecting on the fact that you didn't get a basketball season. I know that was a really big deal to you.
Yeah.
You want to talk a little bit more about that?
Uh, I wasn't. I was never expecting one, but I mean, I got invited to that one thing, but then the numbers got too high, and then this spring, which we went to some tournaments. It wasn't really a season, but it was a good way to just play, and yeah.
Yeah, you've been pretty lucky to get some opportunities with a couple teams here in Bend, but also still different because you're wearing masks and it's a it's different to do athletic activities feeling restricted with a mask on, and also there's been shifts in that. So even a couple weeks ago, your team had to stop playing for a whole week because our numbers in Bend spiked, and they put restrictions on the team playing,
Hmm.
and then even our athletic club closing at times so that you then didn't have access to the gym to play. And I think you brought up such a good point about you can't really pinpoint an emotion because it's been a roller coaster. And at times you're like high highs, the weather's good, we're outside, we're doing stuff, and then just the other day we had rain and nobody wanted to be outside, and so there's that little dark cloud that is over us too and our own emotions, right? And so it's really kind of saying one day at a time.
Yeah.
Here's where I am today, and tomorrow I might be feeling a different way, and that's okay. And I wondered, Miles, would you say that you had that awareness before COVID?
Um, I didn't really notice, like, I probably had it, but I didn't really reflect and notice it because there's I could just do other stuff. And now that's like limited options kind of, but yeah. Now I definitely like I see it more, I guess.
Hmm.
And yeah.
And maybe even have a new appreciation for what we can do when we can,
Mhm.
because when things
Definitely,
are
yeah.
taken away from us, that's when we can look at and
That's when,
say,
yeah,
oh
that's when you
wow.
say, "Wow, I'm lucky to have that." And yeah.
Hmm. And what are you looking forward to, Miles, when you know when the pandemic is over?
High school basketball definitely. Probably just like whatever comes. Like, yeah.
Maybe traveling a little bit more. I know we talked about that the other night at dinner.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Miles, I know that being active in the outdoors is something that you hold very dear to your heart. But what else do you do that helps you kind of maintain a mental and physical well-being?
Um, I mean, getting outside is definitely a big part of that, and uh seeing friends, doing stuff with them, playing sports, being active, just like being active, I think that's the main thing.
Hmm. And you mentioned this earlier. You said that you actually thrived with doing the distance learning, and that's amazing because I think it's that comes with its challenges, right? You're not an in-person learning. What why do you think that? Why do you think you did so well?
I mean, a lot of kids like benefited, and definitely a lot of kids were just like, no one's gonna make me do this, so why should I? And like I could do other stuff. So because you just no one's gonna make you get on the meeting. You like have to get on the meeting, and a teacher's not there to say, "Hey, do your work," kind of.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I benefited from it because there was no distractions, and I could just work like quietly in my room.
Hmm.
And then once I was done, I could get outside and go to the gym or do whatever.
So there was the motivating piece, I'm guessing, of like, okay, once I complete this, then I can go do what I want to do.
Yeah,
Um, because having those extracurricular activities and those hobbies and passions really was like, okay, that kind of I'm guessing and I'm hearing that fueled the fire, right, to get your stuff done.
yeah.
Well, and I would also, I may have to chime in just to say that you do have a mom and dad that was looking over your shoulder to say you can't go until this is done, which, for a lot of families that wasn't the case because parents were working, and I got to be home. I was teaching from home, but it gave a benefit to that was being able to check in regularly with both my kids, so that we had assignments needed to be done before X, Y, and Z could happen, and that I think was helpful, Miles.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Yeah. Most of the time, I think. Yeah, but there were challenges, of course, without a doubt, when we were all home together and trying to
Yeah,
navigate
the
distance
internet,
learning.
like
Oh yeah, and the
everything.
internet issues.
Hmm.
Yeah. Um, and Miles, and one of the things that I'm really grateful for is that you and your mom and your brother, we missed your dad, but that you guys got to come visit us in Hawaii, and that was a really special thing. And we're excited to come see you this summer. And as we have a little bit more freedom with, we're vaccinated and and you're getting vaccinated, right?
Yeah, in 5 days, actually, 5 days. Yeah.
That's great. How do you feel about that?
Good. Like,
Yeah.
I'm glad to get it now, so I can, like, yeah.
It's
Wow.
pretty amazing that they're offering it to 12 and over.
Mhm.
And Bend has done an incredible job with the rollout of vaccines. So we're thrilled. I think about other countries. I was just reflecting, Stephanie, back onto our twin chat with Faith, who just said Amsterdam is not at the same place as we are in the States, and as is the case for so many other countries. So we
Hmm.
should really feel grateful that we are in a position where we have access to the vaccine, which will open more doors and help keep our community safe.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Um, Miles, is there any last words you would like to share with our audience about your experience this past year?
I think we covered most of it. Like, yeah,
Well, sweetie, thank you so much for being here with us.
yeah,
As your auntie, it has been a pleasure to chat with you, and thank you for sharing what it's been like. Because, as your mom said, it's been a roller coaster, right? So,
mhm,
and I'm glad that you're thriving, and that hopefully all your, basketball next year in high school will actually come into fruition. And Kenan, is there anything else you'd like to say?
No, just thank you for taking the time to be with us, Miles. It means a lot. And I appreciate, of course, your openness and honesty with us.
yeah. Thank you for having me.
And thank you to our audience for joining us. And please subscribe and turn on your notifications because we release new episodes weekly. And you can find Twin Chat with SNK on our YouTube channel, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. And you can also find us on Instagram at rise.life.coach and at riselifecoach.com. So thank you all. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye-bye.